and welcome back to another Pickled Unscripted. I have with me, as always, the talented, the inebriated Matt the Pickled Dragon. And
Thanks.
I'm Dracoya. Um, we've got an interesting show for you guys today. I have really enjoyed making this one. Matt, what are you drinking?
I got my new bottle of Glenmorangie,
Glenmorangie.
thanks to my wife.
Matt's wife got him a new bottle of Glenmorangie, guys. Cheers
She's
to
an
Matt's wife.
enabler. Yay for enablers.
Yay!
Um,
And I've got mulled wine over here. So
all right.
it's so cold where I am, man. It is like colder than a frost giant's butt. It is so cold, and I am not used to this. But guys, today we have a really fun video to talk to you guys about Strongholds. So Matt and I have talked in the past about the latest edition of Strongholds and how much we freaking hate it.
The
So
Bastions.
we really, really hated it. But then we talked about 1E, which you guys really enjoyed. So today we want to get into 2E and some of the key differences between 1 and 2E.
Yes. Now, I must say that this particular system, um, which you can see here, ta-da! It's very elaborate cover with a beautiful, like simple art. It's like, you know how the Beatles had the White Album, and this is kind of they
It's
call it
beautifully done.
the Splat album. Um, but yes, we are going to be talking about second edition. This is the system I love the most. And obviously there are many different play styles out there, but if you run a lower magic campaign, and I'm going to qualify that because if you run a lower magic campaign, meaning not many magic items, maybe put the lid on spell casting somehow, this is a system for you. It is closer to like a um, non-magical European Eurocentric castle guide as you can get. I mean, there are a little bit of things in here about like druid shrines and whatnot, but for the most part, this is all about building and running your castle.
So, Matt, do you want to talk about some of your favorite points in the castle guide, or shall I start?
Um, well, here, why don't we do this? We'll share our screen as we always
As we
do.
do.
And we have the PDF here as well.
You want to blow it up a little bit?
Sure. Oh, I just gotta find the blow up button. How's that?
That's so much better.
All
You
right.
kill the eyes of our viewers.
Yes. So, real quick study of the index here. You can see that they're talking about a feudal setting in the days of the knights, that the whole Arthurian legend. They take painstaking efforts to bring castle life, not just like in a fantasy role-playing setting, but from a historical view, they actually have all of these steps that you could take because I think we talked about this in the last video, how, when there is safety, where there's a stronghold, it tends to attract people and communities. That's why you always had communities growing up around castles because
So one of the key differences and the one thing that I really liked is kind of what Matt's saying is that 2E had a more focus around all of the communities that was surrounding the castle, whereas 1E was really mainly focused on the castle building itself. How much would the castle cost? What are some of the things that you're in charge of? But 2E gives it a little more depth as far as who would you really be in charge of? And if you go over to like page 29, Matt, that
29.
was 29.
Yeah, that's probably, let's see.
So there we go, right? Right, you had it. There we go. So right here, you've got demi-human celebrations. They have a paragraph for dwarven parties and elvish parties. Okay, so this will tell you that there's just a lot more focus on the community around strongholds rather than just building it itself.
The
So
culture.
yes, the culture, which I've really enjoyed. The other thing that I really liked is they go into more depth on page 18. They go into a little bit more depth about the tax system. And I think that was that, yeah, death and taxes. See, you've got all these different types of taxes. And if you go to the next page, they even have like more seasonal taxes and more in-depth examples of what exactly those taxes are going to be like, depending on who is in your little community that you're overseeing.
The
Anyway,
the I have been I have been a forever DM pretty much from the start, but I was in one long-term campaign as a player, and this DM went all in, and little did we know that he was hoping to turn us against one another. Uh,
ah, I
and
love
of
that
course,
guy.
because he got us all castles, and we were actually computing taxes and had money going in, money going out, and but once we got landed and we had all our own little, we'd hire our own little armies and whatnot. They he was definitely hoping, the DM was definitely hoping for us to go to war with one another, but it didn't work.
Did it not?
It
Did you
didn't
guys just
work.
like each other too much?
Well, there was there were events that took place in the campaign where uh, one player kind of went rogue and tried to betray us, and it derailed the DM's plans because then he, of course,
Nice.
wanted revenge. But in any case, back to the show here. So yeah, I really love the depth at which this goes. Now, obviously, this won't be for everybody. Not everybody wants to like get the spreadsheets out and compute all of their incoming taxes and outgoing expenses and and so forth. But if you really want to create an immersive. That's like the best word for this book. As plain as it is, with as little art as there is in there, it's a very immersive rule set. Uh, and but again, that's not for everyone. So one of the
And it is
things
it is
that
written a lot better than 1E. Like no, it's not for everyone, but if I was going to start somebody on a game like this, I think that this version is much more friendly. I like the way it's written a lot more too. It's just a little bit more common sense, a little bit less wordy.
less it is well, yes, the word like well, Gary Gygax wrote the first 1E1, and that one was notoriously, or Gary Gygax was notoriously wordy, but uh, this one it's not a lot of word salad. I mean, it's everything here is to the point, like a rule book should be. Now,
Hmm.
one of the things that 1E made a big deal about, they were going into all kinds of the minutia over it, was what kind of stone you had to work with, what was the foundation that the castle built on? Was it clay? Was it sand or whatever? It took painstaking efforts of that. Well, 2E takes it just even further. Um, you get multipliers like, if you try to build a castle in a swamp, Monty Python famously said it fell over, and so they rebuilt it. They didn't care, but that one fell over too. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that. That's so good,
Yeah.
Matt.
But again, there is quite a lot here. Um, as well as and this was kind of an interesting addition as like a tech level kind of thing, but the time and cost at building each of these, much like the first edition one, but so many more options. So
Um, I also really liked the quick resolution guide on page 107.
107.
Yeah, so talking about how it's a little bit more user friendly for somebody who's getting into a game like this. This table was so cool because you've already got your modifiers. Now, one thing that I didn't love about 1E is that I think they had a lot of the same information, but it was just so written out where I lost my focus by the time I got the information I needed. I'm real ADD, guys. So, um, which, by the way, if you haven't seen our latest ADHD shirt, you should go to our store and roll for concentration. So
Yes.
the table here was really great. I think it's a quick, easy guide, and it already has your list of modifiers that you would need depending on your morale, your force size, and then something else to consider is what your castle is built on as well.
Yeah, it's for people who don't want to have to mess with actually rolling out a siege of a castle, which that would be pretty arduous using D&D rules. But they back in the 2E days, they had the battle system, so that was a little different. But I actually, and we're going to cover this in the future. We're going to have a video on this. I have a cinematic stage by stage, kind of like waypoints that I use for sieges or large battles where the party still goes through their motions, but depending on the number of rounds it takes them to complete an objective or whatever, it affects the cinematics around them. Man, we'll go over that. I'm I'm
Oh,
I'm I'm getting worded down here.
I
But
can't wait for that, guys. That's going to be a fun video. But moving on to this one. So there was my last thing that I really, really enjoyed was page 119.
119. Ooh, the tower.
The tower.
Like
Yeah, so it already has a great example of a tower for you guys.
And that's something
So
that this book's great about. There's lots of different concrete examples of maps.
yeah, there's a lot more examples in this book than in the previous book. And that makes sense because for some of us who have full-time jobs, like I want to do these fun, fancy, creative things, but I just don't have time. I have to adult. So I really enjoyed this book a lot more because of all the examples that it had. It also had just a few more pictures. And then on 122, you got,
122.
oh, how did we get all the way here?
Oh, I took this here because I was just showing another example.
Oh, thank you. And then on 122, we have a fortified manor house, which, how cool is that? And if you guys saw my 1E edition or my 1E conversation, you would know that now all I want to do is play a campaign where I build the Winchester Mansion, but a fortified Winchester Mansion. So even if the opposing army could get in my gates, like good ever fucking luck getting to the throne room because you will get so lost. So, for those of you who don't know about the Winchester Mansion is one of the coolest places that I've ever been. It's a haunted large mansion in California. And yeah, this is one picture. So, here's the rundown is there was this woman who she was plagued with guilt because of her because of her family owning the Winchester rifles. And all these spirits came to her and said, if you want to avoid the curse, you need to be spending your family's fortune on this mansion. And you need to keep building and keep building, otherwise they're going to come get you. So yeah, then if you look at these pictures, you have staircases leading to nowhere. You have staircases running into each other. You have staircases on top of each other. And if you go back to the first picture, you've got you've got windows that are built into the ground itself. Now they've created barriers because people are dumb, but they have windows that are built on
Dub.
the floor. They have doors that lead outside, and if you're not careful where you're walking, you will literally drop down like 20 feet and probably break your head. Um, But it is such a cool place. There's rooms where she had like 12 fireplaces in one giant hallway. It's actually called the Hallway of Fire. And this place is so incredibly confusing to get around that people really can get lost in there. There are rooms where if you go into the room and the door shuts behind you, there is no getting out. So unless you know your way around or somebody comes to rescue you, you're kind of stuck there. But it is one of the coolest places that I've ever visited. I love it. I really like haunted things. I like the macabre. I can't wait.
This
But
would, and this, if we could get our hands on a map of this, this would be an awesome place to go in D&D.
I know. I want a map of this so bad. It has to be out there. I haven't found it. So if anyone else can find it, that would be so great. But yeah, I just haven't found a good architectural map of this place because it's so cool. I want to make a whole campaign that is surrounded by this mansion. It's so neat.
It is
Okay.
pretty cool. All right.
Anyway. So 1E versus 2E. What are some of the things that we mentioned that you really enjoy about 2E? If you guys could create a stronghold or a castle, what would yours look like? Would yours be like mine, where it's kind of surrounded, it's built around this real life place? Or would you guys want to make something up that's completely different? What, in your opinion, makes the best stronghold? And what do you think about some of the things that we mentioned between the 2E and the 1E? That as always, comment, like, subscribe, and Matt, come back to have another round on us.